Okay, we are ready. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are so glad you're here today at the Temple of the Living God in St. Petersburg, Florida. We welcome the people from social media that are visiting with us today, and we'd like you to know that you're welcome here in as a live person anytime. So we're going to do a good song for you today because this is a love month. It's called A Love of Another Kind.
1, 2, 3, 4. They say love is cruel. They say love is rather fragile, but I found in you a love of another kind.
They say love brings hurt. I say love brings healing. They need to know it's a love of another kind.
The love I know is a love so few discover. They need to know the love of God is like no other. They say love won't last. I say love is never ending. 'Cause in you I have a love of another kind. They would change their tune. They would add another measure if they only knew it's love of another kind. They say love is cruel. They say love is rather fragile, but I found in you love of another kind. The love I know is a love so few discover. They need to know the love of God is like no other. They would change their tune. They would add another measure if they only knew this love of another kind. They say love brings hurt. I say love brings healing. Understanding thirst is the love of another kind. They say love won't last. I say love is never ending. 'Cause I found I have a love of another kind. Yes, in God I have a love of another kind. Love of another kind. Love of another kind. Love of another, love of another, love of another kind.
Now I would like to welcome all our virtual viewers. Thank you for being part of today's service. Today, we have with us Reverend LeRoy Zemke as our speaker on the topic, Love Begins With Me. My inspirational reading is from the 6 Rules of Love according to Buddha. Rule number 1, if you truly loved yourself, you could never hurt another. Rule number 2, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Rule number 3, love the whole world as a mother loves her only child. Rule number 4, whatever words we utter should be chosen with care, for people will hear them and be influenced by them for good or ill. Rule number 5, and I think many nations in the world needs more practice on this one. Hatred does not cease through hatred at any time. Hatred ceases through love. This is an unalterable law. And one of my favorites, law number 6, or rule number 6, happiness will never come to those who fail to appreciate that which they already have. Now we will have music by Carol and the Goodfellows, and they will be singing Love Song.
Right. It's called Love Song, but you are going to know it as the Peace Song. The lyrics are in your order of service. The reason I put them in there is because it's really hard to not say peace, because that's what we're all trained to do. But we're going to, everywhere where there's peace, we're going to put love in. So please stand up, everyone. Yeah, please stand up and take your lyrics out, and we will begin the song. Yes, certainly.
Welcome to all today. Wonderful to see your smiling faces, as was mentioned earlier. So God bless our day. God bless your life, our life, the life we all share together. I have a very short story I'd like to share with you this morning, and it's so-called a Florida story. Listen very carefully. A Minneapolis couple decided to go to Florida to thaw out during a particularly icy winter. They planned to stay at the same hotel where they had spent their honeymoon 20 years earlier. Because of a very hectic schedule, it was difficult to coordinate their travel plans together. So the husband left Minneapolis and flew to Florida on Thursday with his wife following the coming day. When he arrived at his room in Florida, there was a computer on the desk, and he looked at it and decided to send an email to his wife. However, he accidentally left out a character in her email address, and without realizing his error, he sent the email. Meanwhile, somewhere in Houston, Texas, a widow had just returned from her husband's funeral. He was a minister who was called home to glory following a heart attack. The widow decided to check her email, expecting messages from relatives and friends. After reading the first message, she screamed and fainted. The widow's son, who was in the next room, heard all this commotion and saw his mother on the floor, and then saw the message on the computer screen, which read as follows: "To my loving wife, I've arrived. I know you are surprised to hear from me. They have computers here now, and you are allowed to send an email to your loved ones. I have just arrived and I have been checked in. I see that everything is prepared for your arrival tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you then. Hope your journey is as uneventful as mine was. P.S. Sure is hot down here." The caution in the story, of course, is to be sure you check your email address. I would like to read briefly, and I'm going to condense this talk this morning because of our larger program today, but I want to speak on the broad theme of love, partly because it is the month of February in which we talk about the idea of love. And I want to quote from the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 48. "Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not, vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, does not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not its own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil. Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never fails. But where there be prophecies, they shall fail. Where there be tongues, they shall cease. Where there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. However, love is forever." Then from John, the book of John, chapter 13, "A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, and that you also love one another." And finally, from Romans chapter 8, verse 2, "And we know that all things work together for good, for them that love God, and thus be fulfilled in your purpose." One of the issues of our time is that the idea of love is, I think, increasing in consciousness around the world. There are more songs, poetry, literature, and language given about the idea of love. The popular theme of love is still very heavily accented toward romance and sensuality, ownership of one another, and the broken hearts that follow when love isn't consummated in a way that is anticipated or ongoing. So, number one, let me say that the spiritual principle of love, in my view, is that we are born with love in our heart. It may be considered, if you think of it, as a seed, which is there instantly. It's placed there by the source of life, by God. It is a divine quality in you, in me, in every man, every woman, every child. So we are surrounded in the world of other men, other women, other people who also have the same loving quality. It is everywhere present, all the time. Never is there a time when it is not present, even when we think it isn't. Even when we think we're hurt, or we're angry, or we're upset, or disappointed about some experience we've had with another human being that doesn't seem to reflect the quality of love. Love is there. It's just that we, at that moment, are not able to see it. But the truth here is that love is in you. The love quality is in me. There is never a time that it is not there. Remember the song that we had here at the church a couple of weeks ago? There is no place that God is not. God is in you. God is in me. When we don't express that quality, then we say it's absent. But what we're talking about is something that isn't true. It is present. We just don't see it. We don't feel it. We don't resonate to it. So we don't experience it in ourselves and in another. Second, love is a universal, and I do believe a divine quality. I've said that often, and I want to emphasize it today. And it connects us to all people. Never in the history, at least as far as I have been able to find, is there so much language in the outer world, all across the world and nearly every culture, where people are wanting to acknowledge their humanity, their oneness to one another. And we see, if we look at the political spectrum, when there is an absence of love and when there is an acknowledgement of love. If we look at the outer world, we're always going to be disappointed because the outer world, the physical world, the world of the mentality and the world of emotionality is always filled with the vicissitudes of mankind's behavior. I remember a story in which a mother came to me some years ago. This is really a very deeply troubling but moving story. Her only son had killed another man in a rage, a fit of intense anger. And of course, he was judged accordingly and put in prison. But she spoke about her son almost as if he was sitting in the room with us. I saw a picture of him, nice-looking young guy. And she said, how do I communicate to my son that he's still my son, that I still love him, and I don't judge him for what he has done? She said, society is judging him, and he is in prison, and he is shunned and hated and abused in the prison where he is. And she said, how do I get through to him? And I said, never let go, ever let go of the love you have for this man. Not just the man, but the being that he is. I said, there will come a time in his life when he will have a change of heart. And you know, I realize now as I look back in a moment of inspiration, because there was no way that I knew that at a conscious level. But at a time that came later, probably about 20-some years later, one morning the son awoke in his prison cell, and he was surprised to see his mother standing at his bedside. He was startled. He burst into tears. He started talking to her. And she said, "I have never, ever abandoned you, my son. I love you and will love you forever. And when you come to where I am, you will know the truth that love never dies and is not dependent on your actions on the earth." Think about that, my friends. About the men and women then in our lives that we have lost, for whatever the reason, who have had behaviors that we wish were different, patterns of behavior that have been destructive to themselves and to others. Always remember that love connects you to these men, to these women. I think really it's very comforting to know that we're really not separated. Finally, I want to just share the human story. How many of you are parents in this congregation today? Not necessarily this last week or the last month or two. I have been around hundreds and hundreds of young men and women who have shared with me the new baby that has been born into their life. And there's always this inevitable comparison about, well, this nose looks like grandma, and this ear looks like dad, and this chin looks like mom, and Aunt Mary and Uncle Bill, and so on. And we go up and down the parts of the body that resemble some member of the family. There's always this wanting to be reassured that it is DNA correct. Now, that's affirming in a way that we know when we recognize the external form, we're really trying to affirm something inside. In other words, this man, this little boy, this little girl that has come is part of the family tree. In our world now, not that it's new, but we now have skilled men and women that go back into our ancestry and tell us where we presumably have come from in our country, in America, or some other part of the world. Sometimes it's very affirming, sometimes it isn't. And whether some of it's true, all of it's true, or even partially true, it affirms that we have a rootedness in the world of flesh and form. And why do I say that? I believe that all of us in our world are connected. Now, when you think about yourself as a man, as you think of yourself as a woman, and all the men and women that you have been connected to in your life thus far. Now, those of us that are a little bit older, perhaps, a little over 50 maybe, have been around a longer time. So we have more people. But just think of the people that you've known and not necessarily loved. I'm not talking about love now in some personal sense, but I'm talking about the connection that you have. Really, all the men, all the women, and when I say men, I'm talking about mankind, not just males. I'm talking about all. Think about the people you knew in school, in graded school, in high school, if you remember the high school people, and college, if you remember college, and all the men and women that you've worked with in your family, and in your friendship, and in your church groups, and your social groups. We all really know a lot of people, don't we? All of us. Just remember that we have loved all of these people in some way. Every man, every woman is a reflection of us. We don't own people. You know, in the romantic world, we get in trouble when we try to own somebody. A lot of us have a lot of difficulty with that because we feel like if we're in this relationship with this man, with this woman, we own her or him. And you don't dare go out of this trap that I've set for you called love. Well, that's why some of us get the chance to marry 4, 5, 6, 7 times. hoping that we're going to find the right woman, right man. And many wind up with a puppy dog or a cat. But even, for those of you that love animals, and you know what I'm going to say now, if you try to hug on a cat too much, they scratch. And they say, get away. I don't belong to you. I'll allow you to feed me. And I'll allow you to groom me and to pet me and to have my hair trimmed. And I will just allow you to look at me. Maybe we need to think about allowing other men, other women, other people in our life not to be treated in that way, but to be respected. Because I think love is about respect and appreciating who we are and who the people were in our life that have been difficult. Every difficult man, every difficult woman in our life is a gift. We need, I think, to look at that out of a bigger window in our life. Finally, this morning, I want to read from the words of a poet. Many of you may have remembered a man who lived many long years ago in the last century, Khalil Gibran. I'm quoting from his book, The Prophet. Love gives naught but of itself, and takes naught but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed, for love is sufficient unto love. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart. Rather, I am in the heart of God. If you love someone, let them go. If they return, they are always yours. If they don't, they never were. Let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it be rather a moving sea between the shores of your souls. So be it. God bless you. And now, as we continue on with our wonderful day, Carol and the Goodfellows are going to share with us as we close the service. But right now, we're going to take our love offering, our gifts, and our tithes. So if the ushers will please come forward. And let us pray. Infinite and radiant source of all life, we give thanks for the grace by which we live and walk and have our being. May your power and presence bless this offering, multiply it, and allow it to grow and bear fruit within this ministry and in the world of flesh and form. Amen. Amen. God bless you all. Let us arise as you are served.
Yes, and we've got another insert in your order of service. The song is called Love Is My Decision. I know most of you know that. So we're going to, everybody please stand up and sing along. And the last verse we'll sing twice. Just want to let you know. All right, Steve. Yeah. Love
Is my decision.
It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how.
No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. My decision right here and now.
You sounded beautiful, everyone.
Yes. Stay tuned for the big membership meeting. Don't go anywhere.
Potluck Sunday coming up.